Hello, everybody. We had some sound issues, so I'm redoing this. I want to just, if you're watching this post, just bear with me for a minute, please. I just want to get somebody on and then do a sound check. So if you're watching this post, you'll be able to fast forward through the video to the actual start. Just give me a couple of minutes here. Okay. Okay, so here's tonight's topic. It is your brain on cigarettes, the science behind the habit. Now, here's what we're going to do today. We're going to go into some detail about, not scientific detail, okay, but basically an expression of, like, you know, I don't want to say simplified version, but I don't want to get into the science of it. I just want to get into sort of understanding of the general themes. Okay, so just bear with me while we do the sound check now. So, and then the other thing that you need to know is one thing that I'm going to offer, and you'll find at the end of this is, okay, the sound's working, great. So one of the things that I'm going to give away for free at the end of this is going to be a free 15-minute strategy call with me on the phone, one-on-one, okay, to talk about smoking, okay, and the issues with smoking. Okay, so I'm going to put that link in the bottom. So if you're watching it live, you'll get that link, so stay to the end. If you're watching this in replay later on, you're still going to be able to get that. And I'm going to leave that link live for 2 weeks. And so what that link has is, it basically has my calendar, so you can just book yourself right in, okay? So back to tonight's topic. The brain on cigarettes, the science behind the habit, okay? I'm going, if you were in the last one, I'm going to use a board for this. I haven't erased any of it, okay? So we're just going to reuse that, and we're going to, I have set this to end before 30 minutes. So I'm going to make sure I cover all these details. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to cover here is essentially how, from a neuroscience point of view, do we sort of look at the brain? How do we consider it? How do we put explanatory power to it? Okay, so this is going to look a little messy because my handwriting is not that great, but it illustrates it very well. I apologize for the glare you're going to see on this. But let me just get this so you can see it. Okay, I'll try and put it so you can kind of see it. So here's the first thing I just want you to notice here. Now, I've got a lot of writing around it because I did this video earlier, but I had to delete it, but I don't want to erase all this. But see the circle here in the middle? Okay, this is what we call a mind map. This is one way that we sort of deconstruct your brain. When I mean deconstruct, I'm not a big deconstructionist, but what I really mean by deconstruct is looking at the parts of our mind and smoking and what these parts actually do and how they interact and work with each other, okay? So this circle is essentially your mind. You only have one mind, okay? There are aspects to your mind, but you only have one mind, okay? And that's what this circle represents. See this line here? I'm not going to go into the science behind this, but this is essentially your critical faculty, okay? It essentially separates two parts of your mind, your conscious mind and your unconscious mind, okay? Now, when I say separate, it's not like a neuroscientist can point it and say, oh, there's your conscious mind. That's not how it works. How it actually works is when you have a conscious thought, we can see your brain firing electrically the neurons. So we know when a conscious thought is happening and where in your brain it's happening. The same thing when you have an unconscious thought. We know the exact same thing. So because we can actually measure it and see it, we know a lot of detail about exactly what your conscious mind does and doesn't do, okay? And so that's what we really want to understand tonight is, what does the conscious mind actually do and what does the unconscious mind actually do? And what does it have to do with cigarette smoking, okay? So the first thing that we need to understand is when we measure and we see these conscious thoughts and unconscious thoughts, the first thing we know from neuroscience, okay, is that the things that the unconscious mind does, the conscious mind does not do. Okay. Now, when I say the things that it does, what do I mean? Well, in neuroscience, what we call this is executive function. Okay. What does executive function mean? Executive function essentially means, what is it that your mind is actually doing when it has a conscious thought? What exactly is your mind doing when it has an unconscious thought? Okay, so here's what we know. I've already mapped it all out for you. Okay, so your conscious mind, and if you're wondering, just this little box, it's essentially your thinking thing, the thing that thinks, the internal dialogue in your voice. Okay, so what your conscious mind actually does, the first thing it actually does, its executive function is, it's an interpreter. Okay, it brings in all of your senses, everything you see, hear, smell, taste, your touch. Okay, it brings in all of the senses into your mind. Okay, passes it through the critical faculty into your unconscious mind, where your memory is. Okay, so now remember, what the conscious mind does, the unconscious mind cannot do. We've evolved for those two not to have the same functions, because it's more efficient and we're more successful as a species because of that, because they don't do the same thing. Okay, so let me give you an example of how they don't both do the same thing. So your conscious mind is an interpreter. It's bringing in the external senses. Your unconscious mind has your memory. Okay, so if I say to you, give me the name of your grade 11 math teacher, most people will do this. You'll see in their face this moment, they'll go, Mrs. White. Okay, well, what actually happened there? We asked the question. The conscious mind, the interpreter, took the question in, passed it through the critical faculty to the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind, where memory is, had to look through the files. Where is that stored? In the files. And everything you've ever seen or done, every sense you've ever had, is stored in your deep memory somewhere. Okay, your conscious mind may not necessarily be able to find it, but it is there. Okay, so it's whether or not the conscious mind works hard enough to create the neural pathways to find the memory. Okay, so what is your grade 11 math teacher's name? The question comes in. That's why people stop. They're thinking. What's happening is their conscious mind is going silent and allowing the unconscious mind to do its work and to essentially bubble, these are little bubbles, bubble that memory back up to the conscious mind. The conscious mind goes, oh yeah, Mrs. White. Okay, that's how your brain actually works. Okay, so your conscious mind is an interpreter. The other main function of your conscious mind is your will. Some people call it willpower. Okay, I'm not going to go into the detail of the philosophical arguments of willpower and do we have it and what does it actually mean. Okay, from a neuroscience point of view, all we really mean is when we say willpower, we just really mean the ability to make a decision. Okay, that's its executive function, to make a decision. I want Mexican instead of Chinese food today. Okay, I'm going to turn right instead of turn left. Okay, that's the job of your conscious mind. Okay, your conscious mind has a few other jobs, but your conscious mind has evolved to really only be able to do 3 to 5 things at one time. Anything more than that, and your conscious mind becomes overwhelmed. And I'll give you an example of that in a moment. Okay, let's go back to the unconscious mind. What is the job of the unconscious mind? Well, it's your memory. Okay, it's your imagination. It's your fantasy. It's where habit is stored. And I'll go into habit in a minute. But the other thing that I didn't put in here in the last video was it's also your emotion. Okay. Okay. And we all know this intuitively because we see kids. And this critical faculty here, its job is to basically wall off your unconscious mind. But the critical faculty is very weak when we're young, and it basically locks in by the time we're around 27. It's why we put so much emphasis as a species on learning at a young age, because everything gets through, because this isn't fully developed. Okay, so kids can learn super well, super easily. Okay, the other thing is, you'll notice, is because emotion is in your unconscious mind, The other job of this critical faculty is to regulate emotion. That's why kids are terrible at regulating emotion, but adults are much better at it. Or, well, most of us are better at it than kids. We all think we know someone who's not that great at it. But that's what's happening. What's happening is your conscious mind can't do any of these things, and your unconscious mind cannot do any of these things. Okay, so let's talk about now the sort of three that your conscious mind can do 3 to 5 things, and your unconscious mind can do 10 million things at one time. This is a really important concept to understand. Okay, so here's what we mean by that. Okay, our conscious mind has evolved to really be highly specialized as an interpreter and a decision maker and having will. That's what it does, and it does it really well. We do it better than any other species. We are super good at it. Okay, and we really want all the conscious mind's power focused on that. Okay, it's led us to survive, procreate, and excel more than any other species on this planet. That fact. Okay, and so we don't want the conscious mind doing all of these other things, these menial tasks. So I'll give you an example. We don't want our conscious mind to make us walk. Okay, that is not a useful purpose for it. Okay, so just imagine if your conscious mind had to walk. Okay, you would have to think to yourself, okay, I'm going to walk. I got to go left foot forward, then I can go right foot forward, and then left foot forward, right foot forward, left foot forward. Okay, we can do that. That's 2 things. Okay, well, let's say we want to add on top of that, well, okay, if I'm going to walk, I got to keep my center of gravity forward. I can't just lean back. So I have to not only go right foot, left foot, I got to keep my center of gravity forward every time I take a step. Oh, center of gravity forward, left, right, forward, center of gravity forward. Now we're at the 3 things. Okay, conscious mind is still not overwhelmed yet. But now, this whole walking thing, man, it'd be way more efficient if I swung my arms. Okay, wait a minute. When I put my right foot forward, do I swing my right arm? Do I swing my left arm? What's more efficient? The opposite's more efficient. Okay, so right foot forward, left arm forward, left foot forward, left arm back, right arm forward. Oh, center of gravity. See, now we're up to 5 things. We're starting to overwhelm the conscious mind. Okay, that we don't want that. Now, here's the thing. Walking is so much more complex than just center of gravity, feet, and arm swinging. Here's an example. Do this later on. Stand up. Close your eyes. You'll notice that you're swaying. And to keep yourself standing, your unconscious mind has to fire micro muscles in your legs to create balance. Well, let's throw that into the conscious mind. So the conscious mind has to go right foot, right arm, left arm, center of gravity, fire all of these micro muscles to keep me standing, right? It overwhelms the conscious mind. It can't do it. It's too many things. It's too much. It goes into overload. Well, what about if you wanted to breathe? What about we got the conscious mind to pump our heart, right? Run our circulatory system, okay? It's very easily and very quickly overwhelmed. We want it to be overwhelmed because we don't want it doing those mundane things. We want the unconscious mind, the supercomputer that can do 10 million computations at one time, doing those things. That's what we want. We have evolved to have a supercomputer of an unconscious mind. So guess what we want in our unconscious mind? Habit. That's where we want habit. Anything we do over and over and over and over again. That's what we want there, habit. Okay? So here you are. You're a smoker. Here's your brain on cigarettes, okay? Nobody starts smoking after the age of 27. Almost nobody. And people who do and did, in all likelihood, they smoked as a teenager. Maybe for a year, maybe for 2 years, okay? But here's what happens. So most people start around 15, okay? Give or take a few years, okay? So what happens is you start smoking, okay? And you probably don't smoke a pack a day as a young teenager, usually until somebody has a job and can afford to smoke a pack a day. Usually around 17, people can start smoking half a pack to a pack a day. So you're a pack a day smoker, let's say. You're 18 now, okay? You're taking a cigarette and you're putting it to your mouth. Well, most people on average take 20 drags of a cigarette to finish it. So 20 times you're putting your hand to your mouth, okay, for a cigarette. But you're smoking 25 a day, 20 a day, whatever. So 250 to 400 times a day, you're doing this, smoke. Why do most people smoke? They have all sorts of reasons. Generally speaking, no matter what reason people tell me, to fit in, to be cool, to rebel, to everyone else did it, whatever. Basically, it just boils down to smoke, feel good. So here you are, 250 to 400 times a day, smoke, feel good, 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 smoke, feel good. Okay, constantly, all day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 7 days a week. You're 16, 17, 18, whatever. So you're 18, then you're 19, then you're 20, then you're 21, then you're 22, then you're 23, then you're 24, then you're 25, then you're 26, 7 days a week, 400 times a day. If you don't smoke a whole pack, 250 times a day. What else do you do 250 to 400 times a day, every day, Monday through Friday, Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for a decade, some people longer? What else do you do that frequently? Habits. You do habits that frequently. So what really happened? Your brain on cigarettes, the science behind the habit. What happened? All you did was give yourself a habit by continual reinforced behavior. So, boom, we got that. We know that. We know how the brain works. We know what the conscious mind does, what the unconscious mind does. That's why the conscious mind can go, I don't want to smoke, I don't want to smoke, I don't want to smoke, I don't want to give me another, I got to have one. I don't want to smoke, I don't want to smoke, I don't want to smoke, give me another, right? What's happening? What's happening is the conscious mind goes, I don't want to smoke. You got to remember what the conscious mind does. It's your ability to make a decision. Willpower, you can decide not to have one. But if you're going to do that, you have to use your willpower all the time. Every time you have a trigger, every time that habit kicks up, you got to use your conscious mind and say no and override it. You can do it. 6% of people do it. That's awesome. Okay. So for the 94% of us mere mortals, okay, we're battling this unconscious behavior, right? This habit that's going smoke, feel good, and constant triggers throughout the day. Every time somebody gets upset at us, anytime we want to feel good, every time we get in a fight with our kid, something goes wrong at work. Maybe we smoke every day with a coffee. Maybe we smoke before bed. Maybe we smoke every time we get in a car. We have these constant habitual triggers that we have built into our system over decades of smoke, feel good, smoke, feel good, smoke, feel good, smoke, feel good, smoke, feel good. That is a massive part of your brain on cigarettes, okay? And the neuroscience completely backs up. Another aspect I really want to get across in this video, we're at 18 minutes now, okay? Another thing I really want to get across is how scientifically our brain deals with memory. Okay, here's how it works. You are with your dad. Say your dad's a bit of a jerk and you misbehave and you and your dad get in a fight and he pushes you into a rose bush. Here's what happens. Your conscious mind, okay? Here's what actually happens. Your conscious mind, right here, okay, brings in that sense. I got in a fight with my dad. I got emotionally upset. I have feelings. I got physically hurt. And it takes that, and it passes all those senses into your memory, into your deep memory. And when we have an emotion or something that we see as a problem, it clumps it all together. And then what happens? It's stored there. The emotion, the memory, all of the senses, it's all clumped together into a ball, okay? 10 years later, you're driving down the road with your partner. You open a window, you drive by a rose garden, and you smell roses. What happens is, as that comes in through your conscious mind, your unconscious mind goes to store the experience. And guess what it does? It looks through the filing cabinet, and guess what it pulls out? Maybe not to a conscious level, but it pulls out that past bad experience. And what happens is you're driving down the road and you don't know why, but you're just put off. You're just in a bad mood. You don't understand why. Okay. Well, we know from neuroscience what's actually happening is your brain is just going to store it and it's pulling it up. Guess what happens when you have a habit of smoking and you get a trigger? at an unconscious level because you have stored in here a habit of smoke feel good. You get some trigger. You start drinking a coffee. You go to get your coffee. Guess what happens? Guess what it pulls out? Smoke feel good. Okay? That is your brain on cigarettes. That is what happens when you spend so much time giving yourself a habit. Okay? That's why it is so hard to kick smoking consciously. That's what willpower is. When we try to quit smoking via willpower, which is what cold turkey is, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. That is super awesome. If people can do it, let's celebrate them, okay? But why do so many people try and quit cold turkey? And they try 8 times, 9 times, 10 times, and they quit for a month, and then they start again. Because what happens is every time they get a trigger, they have to engage their conscious will to say no. And that conscious will is fighting against a supercomputer called our unconscious mind. That's why only 6% of people can quit via willpower. Well, guess what? Placebo is 12%. What does that mean? If I give you a sugar pill and say, this pill is magic, you will quit smoking, twice as likely to quit smoking as somebody with willpower. Because belief affects our unconscious thoughts, essentially tricks the unconscious thought, the unconscious mind, into thinking this isn't just an issue of will. There's something else going on here, and it's more willing to buy in. It's more complex than that. And there's not enough time in this video to go into all that detail about placebo and how placebo works on the brain. But my point is, if you're watching this video and it's so hard to quit cold turkey, it's so hard to fight the cravings, what I'm telling you is that is natural. It's authentic. That's the way it is for most people. You just are fitting in with most people's experience. Even people that quit cold turkey, and you'll see them, they'll post, I've been free for 132 days. Guess what happens? Day 145 rolls around and they start smoking again. Most of them, they don't post. Oh, guess what? I lost the battle today and I'm smoking again. That's why most people who try quit cold turkey try a dozen times. Because what happens when you try a dozen times? You're creating a habit. That's what it takes to beat it. You got to create a different habit. Doing it cold turkey, God bless you if you can do it. That is so awesome. But there's so many ways to make it so much easier. So much easier. And watch some of my video. I give hacks about how to beat that. Okay, so let me recap, because I really want to make sure that we really understand the science behind the habit in your brain on smoking. Okay, you have one brain. You have conscious thoughts and unconscious thoughts. Our conscious brain basically just makes decisions and is an interpreter. Okay, it does other things, but those is mostly what it does. Our unconscious mind is a supercomputer. Okay, it has our memory, our deep memory, where our emotions come from, our fantasy, our imagination, and our habit. Okay, smoking for the most part is a habit. So your brain on cigarettes is you creating a habit for the most part. Nicotine is addictive. There's a previous video here about that. Okay, but it's essentially a habit. Okay, and what we know about the science of habit is it's in your unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind is a supercomputer. And to override that supercomputer takes your conscious will. And that is so hard. There's really good news. There are so many easy ways to hack your unconscious mind and change it. Okay? I know one way. Okay? There are other ways. Right? There are other ways. Okay? I don't use these things to talk about what I do in any detail, but the only thing I'll say is there are ways to hack your unconscious mind, change it, that are really, really easy. Okay. So that's what I really want everyone to get out of today. Your brain on cigarettes. What is your brain on cigarettes? It's basically a habit in our brain. That's all it really is. And there's tons of science behind it. And there's tons of ways to beat it. And it's very, very doable. Okay. So I promised at the beginning, one of the things I would do would be to give everyone a free link. And it will, as soon as this video posts, there'll be a link so that you can book yourself into a free 15-minute consultation with me. I don't charge, not going to charge you for it. I usually charge $50. I'm not charging anyone in the next 2 weeks that goes on that link and books themselves into my calendar. It's free. It's only 15 minutes, and I'm pretty good about sticking to that 15 minutes. Okay. The other thing I want to do from you, I'm going to repeat this from a previous video so you don't have to go back and watch it. If you do get a craving or a trigger from your unconscious mind, okay, here's how you beat the trigger. Okay, there's two things. I'm only going to give you one of them because the one is in the most recent video. Okay, one of them is if you get a trigger, okay, here's all you need to do. This is a great trick and life hack to help make quitting easier. Here's all you need to do. When you get a trigger, say you smoke every day when you have a coffee. Okay, so you sit down, it's like, I gotta have a cigarette, right? It starts that process to leading towards craving, the trigger. You can nab it before it gets too far down to the craving. Here's how you do it. What happens when we have a craving? It stimulates the pleasure part of our brain. One way to stimulate the pleasure part of your brain without having nicotine is to smile. Even a fake smile, your brain releases dopamine because your brain does not know a fake smile from a real smile. Your conscious mind does. Your unconscious mind does not. It doesn't have the capability. Okay? You smile, your unconscious mind will force your brain to release dopamine. It stimulates the pleasure center. That is what nicotine does too. Okay? So you're having your coffee. You're trying to quit. Okay, even if you're trying to do cold turkey, you go to have your coffee. Oh, I can feel it. Stop. Take 2 deep breaths. Slow yourself down. The reason why you do that is you want to take control of your physiology. Take it. Smile. Okay, your brain will release dopamine. It will stimulate the pleasure sense. And then the last thing you need to do is you just need to say, I don't smoke. Okay, I'm not going to go into great detail. I'll just give you the Coles Note version. The reason why you do that is when you say, I'm a non-smoker, it's a self-constructed identity. And you don't want to do that. Here's why. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. Do you believe in the tooth fairy? No, you don't. Are you a non-tooth fairyist? Why not? Right? It's insane. Do you believe in Santa Claus? Are you a non-Santa Clausist? No, you don't define yourself by things you're not. When you say I'm a non-smoker, it's a self-created identity. You are creating an identity that includes smoking. You're not a non-smoker. You just don't smoke anymore. You just don't believe in the tooth fairy. You're not a non-tooth fairyist. So here's what you do. Here's the hack. Here's my free gift to you. You're sitting down to have a coffee and you're like, like I'm getting this trigger. Stop, breathe, smile. I don't smoke. And that trigger will, okay? Now, there are way more interventionist ways to deal with cravings and things like that. I'm not going to go into that today. We're over 20 minutes now. I'm really trying to keep these things shorter for people. Please share this video, like it. I give away as much free content as I possibly can to help people quit smoking. I'm giving away the free 15-minute strategy call with me directly. I'm going to post that link. Just go on there and book yourself right in. Even if you're watching this post and you're not watching it live, I'm going to leave that open for two weeks only. I'm not going to charge for it. Okay? Please direct message me questions, email me questions, connect me any way you can. Go on to my YouTube channel. I post all my videos on YouTube. And watch it right off my Facebook page. I'm always open and willing to help anybody and communicate with anybody. Just go right ahead and reach out to me. Thank you very much for listening. I'm Ted Bradley, and I will talk to you soon. And one last thing, this weekend, I'm going to do one of my favorite Facebook Lives. I'm going to do smoking and stress. Specifically, I'm going to give hacks about how to deal with smoking when you're stressed. Okay, stay tuned for that. I think it's going to be Saturday. It's one of my favorite talks. It's really great. It's really simple, and it's amazing. Smoking and stress. See you all soon.